I want to go over some of the waveforms that are used on some of the electronic devices for, well, let's call it attempted healing, because it's something that we know is not endorsed by the medical profession at all, and the only thing you really got to go by is testimonies, and, well, maybe there's a lot more than testimonies. There have been some tests, but they're not published per se on the internet. You can look all you want. They're not going to be published. But I have to say the technology does work somewhat as far as like applying frequencies to the body to kill microbes. You know, one of the problems though you have though is microbes stay hidden in areas of the body that have high electrical resistance. So in other words, electricity, if you're applying a frequency by a contact mode where the pads are touching the hands and the feet, well, it might not be reaching through the deepest areas of the body where microbes could be hiding. That's one disadvantage. The advantage of using the plasma device in that situation might be very, very good, because plasma will go right through a brick like a radio wave. It just, you know, up to a certain point. I mean, it's got a limitation on distance, maybe a couple feet, depending on the strength of the bulb. But that's one advantage of using the plasma. But I want to talk about some of the types of waves that they use, because, you know, for contact mode, you might just be, when you're using like the zappers and things, you might just be better off using a plain square wave, 50% duty cycle with 100% positive offset. Now, Hulda Clark said, and I know some people don't say she was a quack, and some people say she was great. You know, I know there's a lot of controversy, but reading a lot of her works, I can tell you one thing. She did name names. She did name patients' names. She named their progress reports, their blood work. She cured, I mean, maybe she didn't cure, but she treated people and had a lot of success using her methods without using any pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, you can't deny that whatever the hell she did, whether some of the stuff she said was correct, it was maybe wrong, or maybe not everything she said was right, she did get a lot of success. There were some failures, but if you look in the medical world, there's a hell of a lot of failures everywhere, you know, and it's like, you know, you don't hear everybody telling you, you know, you don't see people screaming about how, well, maybe some people do, screaming about how bad the doctors are in general. She did have a lot of success. Well, one thing she said was that the 100% positive offset is very important. And I've understood like why that is, because what's going on is there's an opposite electrical charge in the body from body's normal healthy cells and microbes. The body's normal healthy cells are slightly negatively charged, and that's also the same as saying alkaline. And microbes are slightly positively charged, and that's also the same as saying acidic. When you're talking alkaline and acidic, you're also talking electricity, believe it or not. A lot of people, acidic has a slight positive charge, alkaline has a slight negative charge. So when she uses a positive offset zapper, what it appears to be, in just plain common layman's terms, is that it's shorting out the microbe. The microbe is positive, and you got positive, and it goes bzz, and it shorts it out. And when you're using positive into something that's negative, it's working as an electron donor. And she states that what it does is it makes your immune system into a supercharged immune system by basically adding a more negative charge to it. It's acting somewhat like an electron donor, I believe, or something. I don't know exactly technically everything about it, but where I'm really understanding what she's saying makes a lot of sense, is that I do understand the basic principle that parasites are alkaline and they have a positive charge. Normal healthy cells are alkaline and they have a negative charge. parasites and cancerous cells are acidic and they have a positive charge, if I said that right. Okay? Parasites, cancerous cells, very unhealthy cells, they're acidic and they have a positive charge. Healthy cells are slightly alkaline and they have a slight negative charge. So she uses a positive offset zapper. Now, I didn't quite understand, why is it positive offset? You think it would be negative offset, but I guess what it really is, well, this is from her test. It's positive to positive, what happens? If you put positive to positive, what happens? It shorts it, right? So that's really what it's doing to the microbes, despite whatever the frequency is. Now, if you add in the mortal oscillatory rate of the proper frequency, you're good to go. Now, when you're using the device called Spooky2, and say you're using these little Mobius coils like this one's have it, you can have it hooked on a generator, and you're transmitting a frequency to your body. I don't think it really matters if you're using positive offset or not, because you're not touching the body. It probably does not matter. It's not an electrical current going through the body. You're just applying a frequency. I think John White, who developed the Spooky2, just applies, a regular waveform with the remote work. I'm thinking that's, that makes a lot of sense. Now, he uses, for killing microbes, he uses an inverted sawtooth wave. And that's supposed to produce a lot more different harmonics and things. But, I think, to tell you the truth, there's advantages and disadvantages to everything. And what I really look at it is, what are you getting for the money? Maybe something could possibly help that costs $5,000, right? Maybe something could possibly help that costs $10,000. Do you want to spend that kind of money? I don't. I think that's ridiculous. I don't care if you're like a gazillionaire. It just doesn't make sense. Unless you're desperate for answers. But, I don't like, that's why anything I actually put on here about products or anything, I don't sell this stuff. I'm just looking for the best deal for the buck that I think is still quality and at least meets the best specifications. It's like, I don't sell nothing. I'm just not, it's like I have nothing to do with it, period. But it's like, I look at it from a very practical. I'm going to tell you one thing. I know people that they had a lot of money, it still would not freaking waste it, and that's how they got money in the first place. So I think that's how anybody should think. It's almost like, if a device costs a lot of money, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better. The Spooky device, I know it's like $115 for the generator. You got to buy the Mobius coil. I think it's $40 or something. The boost cable, whatever. Then the shipping from China is pretty up to, it costs you a few bucks, but it's not too much money. Now, but the one thing, Spooky can do all the contact mode, but I personally like for contact mode the best is the Parazapper, because it's the only zapper that it has very good accuracy. It's got extreme accuracy. It's actually a 16 megahertz frequency generator in the size of a cell phone. But the thing is, when you're using these zappers, they're very convenient to use. With Spooky, that's one thing I don't like about it. It's that, maybe you could grab the generator and bring it someplace, but the generator's still like not as big as a zapper, and it's not, it's like it has to be plugged in the wall, and you just can't walk around with it and all this kind of garbage. That's the one disadvantage to, Spooky, but you got the remote mode. But I can tell you one thing. I did certain things that I was like, well, let me put it this way. People who are into this technology and are advocates of this technology and believe in this technology, they already are slanted in their opinions about how good it's going to work. To be quite honest, I don't really give a damn like one way or the other. Like, I look at it like very objectively. I don't really think I am slanted any which way at all in this technology. I think it does work up to a point. You know, despite what the average, medical professionals might tell you, that it's all a bunch of snake oil, I don't think it's that way. I don't think it's like a total miracle cure either. But I think it does help. And that's the way I look at it. If you want to try it, don't spend a lot of money on it. Spooky2 is cheap. The Parazappers are cheap. You can get the mid-grade CC2 for $159 with the handhelds. It's a good zapper. I think it's got 29 frequency. Now, he's got another one coming out with the My Plus. That's going to have like 110 frequencies. The one thing I like about that Parazapper, though, is you really don't need to be technical. Like, it's got some different modes in it. You kind of like flip the button and it goes through these different modes. And you can set it where it starts at your favorite mode, whatever. It just cycles through, keeps running that mode, whatever it is. And whether it's for bacterial, fungal, whatever it's trying to address. And actually, it's not like, he puts the most commonly used frequencies in there. You pretty much got everything covered. And it's all positive offset. In other words, you really just use it and that's it. Probably the big thing where I think you're going to see in the future, though, instead, you're probably going to have these like wrist things and ankle cuffs, whatever the hell you want to call them, where you don't have to hang on to any handhelds or keep your feet on foot pads, and you can just use it, and wear it during the day for a couple hours without, being inconvenient. That's the main disadvantage of the contact mode. So, like, if you have a battery-operated device that you can just walk around with, that's one advantage over the Spooky device in the contact mode. And I think the contact mode is one of your old standbys that works pretty well. So, but I want to tell you this. I found out when I put out this, it was like a testimony, and I'm not BSing about this stuff. Some of the stuff, I did that test with the fleas on the cat, and I put 5 fleas into one of these coils, and by quantum entanglement or whatever happened, all the fleas were dead inside of less than a week. In a few days, they're almost all gone. And I was trying to get rid of these things for like a few months, and I'm still hard pressed to believe that worked. But it was just, I don't know, I couldn't get rid of the damn things. And I used frequency 2750. I read that it was an anti-flea frequency or something. I don't know. I mean, it seems to only get not all the fleas in the whole world, but it gets the ones that are closer related to the specimens that I took. I took 5 fleas and I put it in a Mobius coil. I'd like to see some other people verify that, because that was freaky. I did also 2 other ones were remote. One I had like a tooth infection. I tried, well, it could have just went away too. I'm not going to freaking say for guaranteed sure, but I tried colloidal silver, tried coconut oil, I tried, Listerine. It seemed like it was deep down into the jaw. Then I went into Spooky and I tried tooth and jawbone infections with the running the inverted sawtooth wave, per the John White recommendations, and I used it just a DNA and a Mobius coil, and it went away. Unless it was a total coincidence. But the one with the cat fleas, considering I was trying to get rid of those things for 3 months and it just all of a sudden it went away, I don't know. But it's just so freaky. I find it hard to believe to myself. I do. I mean, it's freaky. It's freaky. I believe it. If anybody says this technology, especially with Spooky, is freaky, it is freaky. The other one I did was, I'm going to tell you one though, it didn't work, but I'm going to tell you one more I think did work, was Vision to Improve. Forgot what the frequency was, 1830 or 1850. I think it was one of those two, but it's called Vision to Improve. While I was running that, I was able to read these tax forms like at arm's length in the fine print. It wasn't even a good print or a good copy. And that was even when I was very tired. At the end of the day, normally my vision gets like, you know, if my eyes get tired, my vision seems to, like, my vision's pretty good, but my eyes get tired. It's like I can't, you know, I'll be going like this and all that kind of stuff. Well, I was able to read everything clear as a bell, real fine print on these tax forms from, like, you know, hold them a yard away at arm's length on a very fine print. Like, no problem. And I was like, wow. That I found freaky. Now, one thing I did with this remote thing that did not work, I tried using this on a family member. They have Parkinson's in one hand mainly. It goes like this. I was running all kinds of stuff. Detox, I don't know, Morgellons even, detox aluminum, the Parkinson's frequencies, the multiple sclerosis frequencies, I mean, you name it. I mean, for a year, nothing worked. That's all remote. Nothing worked. She was down here visiting my cousin in Tampa, not too many, you know, a couple hours away or so. And then she came up this way. I had her do the handhelds, hold them in her hand for 12, 13 minutes at frequency 6,000. No positive offset, just, I don't know, whatever it was, 20, I think it was 20 volts, 10 volts up, 10 volts down, frequency 6,000. The symptoms that she had in the Parkinson's in the one hand was gone all day. And I was like, whoa, that's freaky. But that's one thing the remote didn't work on. So, you know, it's like, I don't think one thing really works. You know, if you could, that's why I kind of recommend stuff that isn't too much money, yet it's quality, in my opinion. You know, like, there's no link. You know, I'm not going to tell you to go, you know, go someplace and go buy something and these people are going to pay me money. They don't pay me any money. I'm a very, very, very pragmatic person. I'd want to give the money to people that are doing the best job. That's the way I look at it. You know, if you got somebody coming around that wants to mow lawns or shovel snow and they're going to do a better job for less money, you pay them, right? I mean, I'm not out here to freaking try to sell something, period. It's like, I'm just looking at, you know, who's doing the best job, giving you the best bang for the buck. And I think it's like the Spooky2 people and the Parazapper people. Those two. So, you know, rather than getting a high-end device, you know, which I think Parazapper and Spooky2 are both high-end devices, it's just that they're not high-end prices. And, you know, it's not something that you should freaking look at it like it's going to be just guaranteed going to work every freaking time. But there's enough times these things work that there's something to it. There is something to it. I know the medical people will say it's impossible, you know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there of this type that doesn't work at all, period. And or it's been exaggerated so much that it makes things that are more effective more times for less money, it makes them look bad. It's like, you know, if you get a few rotten apples in a whole bunch, it spoils it for everybody. And, you know, it's just my opinion that the Spooky2 people and the Parazapper people are the best ones going. And even though they're not the highest price. But, you know, if you're trying to use frequencies, it's like the Parazapper is simple to use. You just turn it on, you know, you hook it on, you use your handhelds, or you got the handhelds and the foot pads, or you maybe use the ankle things and the wrist things. You just turn it on, and you have one of them's like one of them's your ground, and the other three, like one ankle, two ankles and one of the wrist, are the positive pulses, and that's all you do. It's simple. You don't have to go You know, that's one advantage. It's over Spooky. You know, it's like you don't have to read a manual that's 250 pages. I'm not knocking Spooky, but sometimes I don't have any problem reading the manual. I think a lot of people won't have any problem reading the manual, but there are some people that don't want to read the manual. So you're probably better off getting a quality zapper. You know? But it's not the be-all, end-all of anything, because nutrition is a lot, too. You know, right now, I've become much more aware over the last 6 months or so about the power of vitamin C. I knew it was good, but I didn't realize how damn good it was. And right now I'm thinking, wow, you know, if somebody's looking for something that's cheap to take a lot of, it's vitamin C, and it's, you know, it can do a lot for people in many different ways. Not just help knock out microbes. It's got to be quite a bit of it, though. It gets in a little bit more of a subject, but it also can help repair tissue. But I just want to tell you that, you know, the technology does work somewhat, because there's too many people that swear by it. I mean, maybe that's not the best reason why, but it's been around for this long because it didn't stay around this long because it's all up in people's heads. And there are a number of it doesn't work all the time, though. That's the thing. And, you know, I don't like people wasting a lot of money on this type of technology. That's why I say Spooky2. I know some people, I had comments that it was a toy. And, you know, I spent money on an oscilloscope that was, you know, a good used analog one that was calibrated to check both the Parazapper zappers and the Spooky2 device under load. All the waveforms were true. They stayed true under load. They were nice, crisp waveforms. They were doing what they were supposed to. I checked the accuracy of the Parazapper mine, the Spooky2 generators. They were all dead on accurate. I checked them with a leader LDC 822 made in USA frequency counter that was calibrated, and they were all dead on accurate. I mean, I can't go around and say I conducted all these tests on these people and found out it cures this and cures that. I have to go by, you know, what's been, you know, anecdotal evidence, I guess you might want to call it, or that's been, you know, accrued over a period of maybe some decades now, and what, you know, the most common things are. Like the most common frequencies used in rife sessions are like 20, 464, 465 for fungal issues, 727, 728, right? You know, it's actually 727.5, 800, 787, and 880. Very commonly used because they address a wide variety of conditions, allegedly. But I have to state this, that you might want to try different things, but don't spend a lot of money. And I'm not a salesperson for any of these people. It's like, you know, if you look on my channel, I put out so many different types of topics. I look for the most bang for the buck. Like, I'm an accountant, basically. And the way I always was around people, you know, when I was counting people's money that had millions and millions and millions, I learned that even people that have lots of millions look at every dollar. So if you even have a load of money, I mean, you shouldn't be blowing a lot of money on some of these things. And you do sometimes have to spend the money to get something quality, but there are quality products out there that have all the specifications of other things that are thousands of dollars for way less than that. Spooky2 is one of them, and the Parazapper products are the other ones. So, but, you know, it seems to be that you'll hear a lot of different things from different people, but, you know, the technology doesn't work all the time in every case. Like, I found things that worked, remote worked, and then sometimes the remote didn't work. I found one thing the remote didn't work on at all, the Parkinson's, in one thing I tried, and the contact worked like crazy. But you also have to remember, you know, with the contact mode is inconvenient unless you have a portable device, and there's only one portable device out there that is accurate enough, and that's the Parazapper Mine. And they got a new one out. He's coming out with called the Mine Plus. It has 110 frequencies, and probably you don't really need anything else other than that. So that's one way of looking at it too, except for maybe spooky with the remote. But when you add all that up, it's not a lot of money, really. I mean, it depends on what you consider a lot of money. It's about as low dollar as you could possibly get without getting junk. You're getting high quality stuff. It's still low dollar. But you know, a lot of times people are looking for a magic solution. You really don't know. You got to experiment. It's like the body's so damn complicated. It's like you don't know. I put some things out about, well, I know a lot of people say colloidal silver is a freaking miracle. You know, it is great, but it's not going to work on a lot of stuff that advocates think it says it's going to work on. And I could also tell you that I don't think all the technology that I was talking about with the electronic frequencies is going to work on everything. That's why I'm not a person that says you should spend a lot of money on that stuff. You know, when I talk about the Parazapper Mine or the Spooky2, they're not expensive devices, especially for what you're getting. There's other stuff out there that's like, you know, you got another decimal point going over in the price. You know, you're not talking hundreds, you're talking thousands. So, you know, we're talking hundreds when you're talking about, you know, the ones I think are the better deal. Yet they're still high quality. As far as I could tell, you know, everything I checked, and I've been using these devices for, you know, quite a long time now. I actually have 3 spooky generators that I've not having any problems with them at all, none. And I have 2 Parazapper zappers, and I've not had any problems with them at all either. So I just want to say that, you know, you might want to try different things, but don't spend a lot of money. And don't, you know, expect miracles out of everything. I found that even the people that believe in this type of technology and are big advocates of it, they'll tell you they have a certain percentage success rate. But then you're thinking, is it because of the device or is it because of something else? I think there's merit to it, but it's like, I definitely do not want to exaggerate or overplay it. But on the other side, I think there's definitely something to it where it can be useful in some cases. It's not snake oil. You know, the detractors tell you it's snake oil, the advocates will tell you it's a miracle. The actual truth is it lies somewhere in between. So when you're trying these devices, you might want to say, you know, if you're using a remote mode, I like, you know, John White also has it programmed where you have the inverted sawtooth wave with the remote mode. I like that. That'll allegedly kill microbes that you need to address. I think it does work. You know, from the few things I tried. So, as far as contact mode, probably just a plain positive offset, 50% duty cycle, and an accurate frequency is all you need. The Parazapper has that, and Spooky2 has that, except the Parazapper, you can go anywhere with it anytime for contact mode.